Did I bamboozle you? Did I bamboozle you slightly? No, not quite.
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't spread over every egg.
Damn it, I missed. No, yeah, I didn't. I wanted to see if instead of like reducing the volume, I wouldn't get y'all to like be prepped for it. So I wanted, wait, y'all started the hype train? What the fuck? God damn it. All right, like get it out of your system, kids. Get it out of your system. Don't forget we need to get all kinds of mad and ordained for keeping us from the miniature building amusement park in the Netherlands, and especially how the fucking base the political late night shows. Like, no, we also forgot to get mad and ordained over pony parks. Ordain, when the fuck were you gonna tell us that pony parks were a thing? Huh? I heard the volume drop and I was like, oh, here they come. Wait, I didn't drop the volume until it was already on the screen. But that's usually what I do. I usually drop the volume and then swap. But I wanted to see if I could bamboozle y'all today just by swapping without lowering the volume. Oh no, the hype train's gonna run out. No! We also fell down again. We fell down again. We fell below the 150 mark again. We are getting close to the end of the month though, so I don't know. I don't know what else I can throw on top. What else could I throw on top?
What's your pleasure? What's your fear?
Oh, I forgot about that. I forgot I made those. Well, happy birthday, Murdoch. But it's also not a good idea to put your exact age. You can say it's your birthday. It's just a bad idea to say your exact age. Yeah, I made sound alerts. I recorded Barker style sound alerts, except which one was it? One of them has multiple alerts. One is a Barker one, and the other one is like a more of a seductive one. I forget which one it is. Hold on, let me go check really quick. Which one did I give the random condition to? Did I only do it to when you buy your own sub? No, it's not that one. Was it raid? No? Was it follow? Okay, yeah, it's follow. Follow is the one that has two different sounds that it'll make, but it's random which one it'll be. All right, chats. So what you're saying, we're so far from Sheep Go Round? Yes, we are very far from Sheep Go Round. We are more than 100 subs away from Sheep Go Round. Also, B, thank you for the 5 months. Holy shit, dude. Is pretty seductive. Well, most of these are kind of goofy. They're more done in like a faux Barker tone, and there's only one that's like done that's like, it's kind of seductive, I guess. But again, it's only the follows. Why was I asked for a pony park? Why didn't you tell us they existed? Those are foreign concepts to us. We found out about those on Kono's stream of all places. Seducing the raiders? That'd be crazy. I mean, the raid one, if I remember correctly, actually does slide into seductive. I thought they were everywhere. The fuck they are. I've never seen a pony park in my life. And I've gone riding horses around mountains. Another moment we realized Ordain lives in Candyland. Correct. Ordain does live in Candyland. And Void is in the corner. Why are we in the corner today, Void? What are we doing in the corner? What are we doing in the corner? Yes, Pony Park. A park where you ride ponies around. Equivalently, an amusement park. You have mountains to ride ponies around. So how much did you pay Merit for this alerts? I didn't pay myself anything. Shy also edited them for free. Sai was the one that audio edited them. Because if I listened to them on repeat, my brain was going to shut off. And I wasn't going to be listening to them anymore. I was just going to be like, I think that sounds fine. I think. Question mark. All right, chat. Are you ready to talk about what happened over the weekends? Actually, you know what? Why don't we talk about something that's even funnier? Why don't we talk about something that's funny as fuck? Y'all know the Rapture's happening tomorrow? Did you know today is the day before the Rapture? Give Beef a spin? Oh, did he get Wheel of Punishment? He did get Wheel of Punishment. All right, hold on. Spin, 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 tells us sin, we will win. Very stoked. Oh, uh-oh. 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 Okay, it's thigh slaps, but hold on real quick. I want to show y'all how close this was. That's the wrong button. Where's my screen? There it is. There's my screen button. Wheel of Punishment. Boop. Almost there. It was thigh slaps. It was thigh slaps. This is where it landed. Strike me down, God, let it all in. No, listen, think about it this way. If the people that are losing their mind, again, if you actually have ever read the Bible, we're not supposed to know when the rapture happens or when the apocalypse starts. The rapture is not in the Bible. The rapture was made by an old white fuck in the 1830s. So like, it's fan fiction. What does it say? Live record? It's the live record script. So we would change the plan for tomorrow to reading like one of the stories that I have. One of the horror stories that I have. 1830s, that sounds recent. Comparatively recent. Comparatively very recent. But back to the desk, kids. Back to the desk. That Nostradamus feller? No. His name was, if I remember correctly, it's Joseph Darby. Joseph Darby. Nope, hold on. Was it Joseph? No, John Nelson. Sorry. I thought it was John earlier, but I was like, that doesn't sound right. Because I remember at one point hearing his name and being like, why am I surprised that there's so many Josephs having weird fucking dumb as hell prophetic visions? But no, it's John Nelson Darby. He was the founder of modern dispensationalism. For anybody who doesn't know what dispensationalism is, Christian theology framework interpreting the Christian Bible, which maintains that history is divided into multiple ages called dispensations in which God interacts with his chosen people in different ways. Yay. Yay. As the sharer of that name, you write, listen. Strike all rich people. God, my life is yours. Just like it's the fucking, like it's Kronos. And my life is yours. Hi, Void. Welcome in. Also, wait, why am I to the side? That was weird. Did I hit the wrong button? I thought I slid over to the chair. I don't care if I go up or down as long as my roommates.
Step inside.
Hey, there's the first follow one. Hall Rider, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. How are you doing? It's every damn decade now. Yeah, well, 2012 was the apocalypse. It wasn't the rapture. 2011 was the rapture. Annabelle, thank you for the 5 stream streak. Holy shit, how are you doing? How are you doing? But yeah, if you ever think the rapture is part of the Bible, I hate to tell you kids, it is not. The rapture is not part of the Bible.
Step inside.
Still haven't gotten one of the other ones. Brighter Karma, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Hi, Hectic. Pre-tribulation rapture theology was popularized extensively in the 1830s by John Nelson Darby and the Plymouth Brethren, and further popularized in the United States in the earliest 20th century by the wide circulation of the Schofield Reference Bible. That says the Bible. You dare question the words of the mighty Jimmy? Listen, I had considered yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. When I was laughing with Kono, and I had pulled out the cheap Quran that I had bought, and I was like, you know how you do the meme of like having the Book of Mormon? How you have like the Book of Mormon meme going on in your chat? I was like, we're gonna do Islam. I'm sorry, chat. This is now an Islamic stream. This is now a very progressive Islamic stream. Hi, Keyshawn. How are you doing? You mean Kronos from God of War? Oh my God. Even, listen, you saw me add the emotes. Did you see me add the Quran as an emote? I saw what you did. Listen, it's fine. But I love pork. I'm sorry, Hectic. But pork doesn't love you. Pork is exceptionally unhealthy if not processed properly. We're lucky enough to live in a place where it is processed properly, but it is still to this day a known carcinogen. I'm beasting my dying light. Wait, did that game come out? That explains why I kept seeing like little shorts on it. I thought it was pieces of trailer. Quran, you mean Honda Accord? Oh my god. Bungo, thank you for the 3 stream streak. Good lord. Good lord. Oh my goodness. But no, that's for the meme. I think I also, didn't I add something else too? Didn't I add an emote that's like fucking Pepe, but it's like Inshallah or something? Oh my god, it is. There it is. Fantastic. Fantastic. What isn't a carcinogen anymore? I mean, technically our bodies are a carcinogen at this point. You can blame plastics for that one. Chat, have you leveled up to ingesting macroplastics yet? Or are y'all still on microplastics? Would you need to troll? I'm a mere man. I don't do heavy hardcore trolling. It's like if I do the meme of like bringing up like Islam or anything, I will do nothing of the sort to put it in a bad light. Inshallah, you mean a falafel? No. Falafel's good though. Macroplastics was last season. Gonna take it to the next step. Oh, are we just chewing on like milk cartons now? I'm onto gigantic plastic. What do you think macroplastic is? What do you typically use the word macro for, Ordain? Me chewing on bubble wrap? No! You're supposed to pop the bubble wrap, not put it in your mouth. Oh my goodness. Microdosing resins, actually? What the fuck do you mean microdosing resins? Are you trying to preserve yourself while you're alive? Big? Yes, Sunstar, big. Macro is smaller than gigantic? I would argue against that. And just go ask the fetish community that likes macro stuff. Refers to something large scale. That's it. It could be as big as necessary. Yeah, go find macro fetish art and see how big they get. I've been consuming macroplastics for the last 3 years. Giga Chad? Oh my god. Oh, you know, make a 3D print, take a sip, huh? Take a sip? What do you mean take a sip? Are you eating your 3D prints? Does it mean you're going to talk to Mother and start killing hotel guests willy-nilly with a big butcher knife and start saying Norman like an old crone? No. Well, I think technically in one of the trailers, it does look like we are killing our way through a motel. Who knows? Who knows what we'll go into? I just know we're going to be killing people. Because we play a psycho in this game. No, just taking a spoonful of 3D printing resin. Like, are we talking like... Okay, no, this is for resin printers. I mean, I have a jug out in the garage. I can go get it. My 3D printer's still out there. I want to commission a normal-sized person. Actually, could you draw for me a tiny character? I want you to draw a fairy. Let me eat it? No. Absolutely not. It is unopened. Good lord. Oh god, I don't even want to think about what would happen to your stomach if you drank fucking printer resin. He was a fairy. Oh my goodness. All right. I have to ask this, chat. I have to ask this. Out of curiosity, did anybody see the memorial service yesterday? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's a good thing. That's a good thing if you have no idea what I'm talking about. The giant cross? I didn't see the giant cross. Fuck no. No, you mean the yes, the propaganda rally. Correct. Correct. What? I avoided it like the plague. I didn't see it on, like, when I was at the gym yesterday, it was on TV. It was on both major news networks. And I avoided looking at it because every time I looked up there and saw it, I was like, okay, there's nothing important going on here. But since then, I've seen some pretty fucked up shit that the politicians were saying at this rally. Speaking of which, chat, speaking of all things that were talked about at this rally or rambled off in this rally, did you know Trump found the cure to autism? Did you know Trump has found the cure to autism, but he's not going to tell the public until I think it's either tomorrow or the day after? Oh yeah, it's an American thing. It's an American thing, dude. Yeah, supposedly he has found the cure. I was speculating that this time it's probably not bleach. I bet it's going to be a lobotomy. I think it's going to be a lobotomy this time. Wait, how do you know this? I've seen some of the people reacting to the stuff that was said. I did not see the whole thing because I refuse to watch that absolute fucking grift of a nightmare. I bet it's Twizzlers. Oh my God. Are you a spy? What the fuck do you mean spy, dude? It's broadcasted on TV and people take clips from it all the time. Forever into a deep dark cave would help the tism. I mean, it might. It's 9mm to help against it. Bring back chaining people in asylums. I said that earlier. I was like, what if we brought back like major mental, like the gigantic mental institutions, but actually made them work? Because I swear to God, these people are going through what is probably the largest religious psychosis event, maybe in history. There was, how many people were in that stadium? It better not have been, let me see. Number of people at Charlie Kirk Memorial. 200,000 came to Glendale, Arizona yesterday. And I want to know, has anybody seen the videos of the, like the leftist groups that went out after the rally to see like what people were doing? Because not everybody fit in the stadium. Obviously not everybody fit in the stadium. And people were literally just like camping out outside the stadium to be there. And they trashed the place. They fucking trashed it. I just heard sirens. Why did I just hear sirens? He thinks that asylum seekers means from insane asylums. They're not sending their best. Eat pants, dude. Then Trump's birthday? Yes, correct. That is correct. Which is why, let me see if I can find his name. What was his name? Something Hurst. Hurst Wessel. I'm pretty sure this is him. Yep, Hurst Wessel. All right, chat, hold on a second. I'm going to give you a picture. We need to talk about this because I want y'all to recognize the patterns that I'm seeing too. Say hi to Hurst Wessel. If you've never heard of this man or never seen him in your history class, that's fucking intentional. This was a young Nazi officer, up and coming, big name soon to be. The Nazi Party, the entirety of his career, were planning a way to kill him. Not because he was undermining them in any way, but because he was the perfect image of a Nazi Party member, of what a young Nazi Party member should be. And their goal was to throw him to the wolves. I think they ended up throwing him to, this is Hurst Wessel. Oh, hi, Jane. You probably know who this is. There's the resident German. We're talking patterns here, Jane. We're talking patterns here. This man was the prime example of what the Nazi Party wanted its youth to be. I should come back later. It's fine. We're going to get through this really quick. They threw him to the wolves. He was killed and he became their first major martyr. There was another man, but this is the man that was probably the most important because they took his face, slapped it over everything, renamed the national anthem after him, and then used him as a way to trigger the Night of Long Knives. Or no, the Night of Broken Glass. The Night of Broken Glass, not Long Knives. The Night of Broken Glass. He looks like a dick. He was the prime young Nazi officer. He was very local. People liked him, and they needed a figurehead to sacrifice. We're talking about goofy fucks, pretty much. Why just held head shaped like a penis? That's a good fucking question. I think it looks more like a lopsided finger. I think it looks a lot more like a lopsided finger. But yeah. Let's see if we can find a picture of like the rallies. This looks like art of a picture, weirdly enough. But no, I want to see if they have pictures of one of the rallies. Yeah, here's the man who supposedly killed Wessel. But it was found after they raided funeral. Oh yeah, Goebbels had been looking for someone to turn into a martyr for the Nazi cause. His first attempt was Alberto Leo, oh good, Schlagetter? A Freikorps member and saboteur who was caught attempting to blow up a train in the Ruhr region, which was occupied by French troops in retaliation for Germany not adhering to its schedule of reparation payments. Schlagetter was executed by the French and his grave later became a Nazi shrine. They were also the 16 Nazis who had died during the beer hall putsch, and who were honored with public ceremonies every year on the anniversary of the putsch. The putsch. But, where is it? Here it is. Goebbels saw in Wessel's shooting the possibility of propaganda bonanza. He eulogized Wessel in his newspaper, Der Angriff, in overtly Christian tones. A Christian socialist, a man who calls out through his deeds, "Come to me, I shall redeem you." A divine element works on him, making him the man he is and causing him to act in the way and no other. One man must set an example and offer himself up as a sacrifice. Well then, I am ready. Hi, Fairbanks. Is it sounding familiar yet, chat? Is it sounding familiar yet? You don't agree with him? We need to start Civil War now, smash? Yeah, then they found out, then they're still fucking spreading lies about that person. It's insanity. They'll just lie as hard and as fast as they can. And no matter how much the evidence isn't there, they're just like, no. You can't logic somebody out of the position they didn't logic themselves into. Wessel was buried in Berlin, March 1st, 1930. Contrary to Nazi claims, there were no attacks on the funeral procession, which Goebbels claimed was watched by 30,000 people. Funeral was filmed and turned into a major propaganda event by the Nazi Party. Wessel was elevated by Goebbels' propaganda apparatus to the status of leading martyr of the Nazi movement. Many of Goebbels' first effective propaganda speeches were made at gravesites, but Wessel received unusual attention among the many unremembered stormtroopers. Now let's see if this one probably has the name. Oh boy, here we go. As the coffin reached Bolleplatz, now roasted Luxembourg Platz, communist hecklers began singing the Internationale, good song by the way, in an attempt to disrupt the event. The police were unable to prevent abusive shouts and at some point flying rocks. No major clashes occurred, although someone had written "To Wessel the Pimp, a last Heil Hitler" in which paint on the in white paint on the cemetery walls. Sorry. But Erica starts playing. Oh, good lord. Yeah, then here's the whole section on him being a martyr. And where's the part where they... Oh, here it is. Death of Wessel and the proliferation of the Hearst Wessel song was an extension of the Nazis' cult of martyrs, in which included Freikorps member Leo Schlagetter and the 15 Nazis and one bystander killed in the Beer Hall Putsch of 1923, who were reburied in Munich with great fanfare on the 8th of November, 1935. But yeah, Hearst Wessel song. Die von Hock. Anthem of the Nazi Party from 1930 to 1945. Made it the co-national anthem of Germany, along with the first stanza of Deutschlandlied. Lied? I don't know how to say this. James is just going to probably shoot me the more I get this wrong, but it's fine. All right, let's go back. He was a pimp. No, he just used the word as somebody to like lord over, or be an example of. I'm a smooch. What do you mean you can smooch? Just yes, correct. There you go, Beef. Now it's sparking. There you go. That's what I was trying to get at, dude. No, he wasn't an actual pimp. He just used the word pimp. Here, let me go back to that statement from Goebbels. Oh God, I hate. Didn't fucking Netanyahu over the weekend quote Goebbels, Jeebles, coward, family annihilator? Where was it? No. Where was the word? I think that somebody was using the word pimp as like a verb in this case, of essentially pimping the corpse of Horst Wessel. Essentially pimping him out as a martyr. Cause of death, blood poisoning contracted during treatment for a gunshot wound. That sounds suspicious, doesn't it? Hold on, let me go find this. That's the aftermath. Posthumous notability.
Step inside.
I Cyberchick, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Also, Apollo Dad Blue, thank you for the follow. I'm sorry if I missed it. I don't remember if I said thank you. So when will Kirk's Whittle be forgotten by the rights? Ugh. Once they think that puppeting Kirk's corpse around, as they have been, is done, as it has gotten them the recognition and things that they need, is effectively it. Ooh. After World War II, Wessel's memorial was vandalized and his remains and the remains of his brother Werner were exhumed and destroyed. The remains of Wessel's father, Ludwig, were left interred. Such activity became common for buried Nazis in East Germany. Much of the memorial grave markers were cut off, removing the metal above and the names of Wessel and his brother Werner. Afterwards, the gravesite was long marked only by the remaining part of the grave marker, which had been partly recarved and was in use as the headstone of Wessel's father, Ludwig, albeit with the surname Wessel removed. It's done. In 2000, a group of anti-fascists claimed to have opened the grave and thrown his skull into the nearby Spree River. Berlin police later said the grave had not been disturbed and that no remains had been removed. Later in 2011, a group of anti-Nazi activists attacked Wessel's grave and sprayed the words, Kein Ruhe für Nazis, aka no rest for Nazis, I totally just butchered that too, by the way, on the remains of the grave marker. Damn. His remains aren't there. They're already gone, guys. There's no reason to keep attacking the grave of the father. Oh, yeah, you talking about, yeah, not the remodel of the Oval Office. He was talking about the building of the fucking ballroom. Is how many SS officers they recruited in the 50s and 70s. Remember, Dimshin Yahu was born 49, highly suspected to have been more involved with Mossad prior to his presidency than has been reported. I would not doubt that. I would not doubt that at all. That was another thing me and Kono talked about at one point. Do y'all remember back in the early 2000s when you remember conspiracy theories in the early 2000s? Things like jet fuel can't melt steel beams, or the people that would be like, it's always Israel. Israel did the thing. It's inside or shit like that. And you'd be like, you're fucking nuts, dude. You're insane. What the hell are you going on about? And now sometimes I sit here and I'm like, maybe I owe them a little bit of an apology. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. But it's like, they're still nuts. They're just more nuts than they were then. But it's like, those things are kind of like, okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I have several concerns. At this point, I don't know, dude. I can't say anything, and I don't think if we found out any of those conspiracies were real, what consequences, if any, would come of it. I really don't think there would be any consequences, I'm not gonna lie. They're probably just gonna fucking fan it away and be like, well, damn, we missed our opportunity. Too late now. Ice graphite contracts? What is that? Ice graphite. Goodness. What is this? Oh, the spyware contract? Oh! Okay. On Monday, 404 Media filed a lawsuit against Immigration and Customs Enforcement, aka ICE, demanding the agency publish its $2 million contract with Paragon, a company that makes powerful spyware that can remotely break into mobile phones without the target even clicking a link. The sale of the spyware to ICE has activists and lawmakers deeply concerned about what the agency, which continues to push the Trump administration's mass deportation effort, may use the technology for. The contract and related documents 404 Media is suing for may provide more information on what ICE intends to do with the spyware. 404 Media first filed a Freedom of Information Act request with ICE for the documents related to its Paragon purchase in September 2024. Under the law, agencies are required to provide a response within 20 days or provide an explanation of why they need more time. ICE acknowledged receipt of the request in September 2024, but has not since replied to any following inquiries. 404 Media then filed the lawsuit. At the end of August, they reactivated the contract after Biden froze it during his presidency because he considered it conflicting with his own executive order restricting government's use of spyware. was that the US knew about the plot but purposely ignored it, a la Pearl Harbor. I wouldn't doubt about that, but then there's also like the conspiracies of like the dancing Israelis or the interview with the one Israeli woman in downtown New York and the fact that she's smiling and excited through the whole interview. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but she is so creepy. She's like, the towers are falling behind her and there's a news crew asking her how she feels, and she's smiling like a maniac and just goes, now everybody knows what we deal with. And she's like, it's like, what does that mean? But yeah, if nobody knows the conspiracy theory of the dancing Israelis, it's a crew of, I think it was 5 Israeli men that when the towers were being hit, like in the process of being hit, they were found dancing and like playing loud music while watching it happen around their moving van. They were apparently part of like a moving crew. Is the utmost sophisticated spy word existence going to be used on everyone, not just, oh yeah. Combined with the war against first movement and the fascism that's looming, graphite's going to be used to shut down dissent. Ugh! Made fake news will become so realistic, conservatives will think it's fake news. They already think real news is fake news. What does it matter? There's people that legitimately thought that an AI-generated video of Charlie Kirk telling them that he's in heaven now and he's happy and that they should donate to the church was real. There are people that genuinely thought that an AI video of Charlie Kirk telling them he is in heaven was real. Oh, hey, that was the seductive one. Okay, maybe that one didn't need the filter. I don't think that sounded too good with the filter. Hi, Cap. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Hi, Tommy. How are you doing? See, I plot to project. What? What the fuck did they think that was gonna do? Also, hold on. What is Cuba's what is Cuba's religious percentage? 59% Catholic. And then 18% likely Santeria. And then about 23% no religion. The fuck do they think that was gonna do? They also, the thing that bothers me, I think the most, to do something like that over an Islamic country is just straight up idiotic. Hi from India. Hi, how are you doing, Cap? Thank you for self-care. This self-care is brought to you by Gamer Subs. Oh, my brain has been lit up like a Christmas tree 24/7 with this presidency. Ugh, I hate it. I hate feeling like I like at this point that the craziest shit has plausibility. Told me they put drugs in the tap water to keep them crazy. It's starting to think that guy was right and they put it in everyone's water. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's education. I think it's our education system has purposely ruined so many people. Namaste. What are we talking about? Jesus, I couldn't even describe to you in there. The hellscape that we live in. Oh, the thing I was talking about was with Iran. You know that the government knows fucking nothing about Islam whenever their plan is like, this is how we can convince them to be nice to us going into the future. We'll project Jesus over the sky, completely ignoring the fact that Islam also sees Jesus as a prophet and probably would not be that surprised. Also, what kind of cavemen do you think these people are? Even if it was like what? Earliest part of probably the Iran Revolution, I'm guessing at the earliest 70s? Projectors are not foreign objects to them. Insanity. Insanity. Racism, very much racism. It's just, Jesus, dude. I can't imagine. I can't imagine being that fucking stupid or think that little of a country that was technically your contemporary in the 70s. It's insane. It's insane. Wait, did Silent Hill F come out? Oh my God, did Silent Hill F come out this week? Sorry, that's random. Jesus, it's $70, dude. Oh, it comes out in 2 days. Comes out in 2 days. All right. There goes the piece we have right now. Silent Hill, fuck. Yeah, Silent Hill, fuck. Better than the pig, the what? That's just malicious. Wait, what? Pig blood bullets? Okay, it was never real. Is a debunked myth often associated with the false story of U.S. General John J. Pershing. Claims that Pershing executed Muslim prisoners using bullets dipped in pig's blood to deter terrorism during the U.S. war in the Philippines in the early 1900s? Oh boy. During the 2016 U.S. presidential campaign, Donald Trump frankly told an unsubstantiated story about Pershing capturing 50 terrorists and executing 49 of them with pig blood dipped bullets. According to the tale, Pershing told the 50th prisoner to return and tell others what happened, and as a result, a 25-year period piece followed. Are you sure it was the pig blood dipped bullets that did it, even if that was real? Again, that's fucking stupid. Sounds like the price of the game for the Switch too. Yep. That's why I am not looking forward to the point where I have to spend the $400 to get the Switch 2 so I can play Kirby Air Riders, the new Pokemon game. I'm only mildly upset. Mildly. GTA 6 got delayed again? Who cares? When it comes to GTA 6, it's either always going to get delayed or by the time it comes out, it's going to be disappointing. It is not going to live up to its expectations at launch, guaranteed. They got a bundle for Pokemon at least. Still sucks ass though. Wait, there is? They're selling a bundle for the new Pokemon game with the Switch too. Thing is, I'm nowhere close to being able to like spend that kind of money. And I likely won't be able to until I know for sure that I have already got like the plane ticket to move. Silent Hill in Scotland would be rad. It would be interesting. It really would. The thing is, wait, what is this? Wait, they're releasing another Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG game? Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG Genesis? Why do they do this? Why do they release completely different games that are basically just another platform to play the card game on? Genesis? Nope. Big ol' nope. Well, it's only like a teaser trailer. It's 30 seconds of staring at space and then a logo, and that's it. Trying to figure out who these characters are, but I don't recognize any of them. Oklahoma's requiring. Yes, I have. Oh my God. Okay, for anybody who doesn't know, Oklahoma.
Come all and step into the macabre halls of the Dark Carnival. And please enjoy the show.
Welcome in, Raiders. There's the raid audio I was talking about earlier. We ring forth bearing victory. Kaya, how are you doing? How was your stream? Were you doing the, what is it, the one weapon per boss thing still? New raid audio, yeah. I just made it over the weekend. Because we didn't have any audio before, so I made these over the weekend. Sai edited them for me. I recorded them. Do we get to do Schmurder? Yes, we're going to do Schmurder later. But welcome in, Raiders. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Mar, and I'm the ringleader of the Dark Carnival. I typically play games that are dark, spooky, and terrifying. Or just straight up gory, because where's the fun of a boring game? But currently we are talking about current events, which you just came in on an interesting time because we were about to talk about a law that they are trying to pass in Oklahoma. Wait, who's Charlie Kirk? Bless your soul, baby. Bless your fucking soul. I wish I was you. I wish I was you. Yeah, I kept missing alerts. So I previously didn't have any sound alerts because I liked the like calm, uninterrupted alerts. But I kept missing them. So I was like, all right, fuck it. We're adding new ones. 10 push-ups. All right, hold on with that in a minute. Outside of current events. So for anybody who doesn't know about the Oklahoma thing, Oklahoma is trying to pass a law that demands that all of its state universities build a statue to Charlie Kirk. The statue can be of Kirk by himself, him and his family, and has to be displayed in a major promenade of the campus and has to be approved by the state. It's only passed the House. It has only passed the House right now. But can you imagine the level of graffiti that's going to happen to these statues? He's dead. He's dead. He's been dead for 2 weeks. The thing is, Noob, is they've been puppeteering this man's corpse around every single day since. Look up the Charlie Kirk memorial that happened yesterday. Find a picture of it and then go ahead and have a stroke, because you probably are. Are you stuck in that forsaken place? I am. We're working on moving out of Norway. Right now, we're just waiting on the bank to approve the home loan. Weekend at Charlie's. I wish it was just the weekend. I'm trying, Kaya. I swear I'm trying. That's why I was talking about Hearst Wessel, Vaporous. That's why I was talking about Hearst Wessel earlier, because it's literally a carbon fucking copy. Well, it's not literal a carbon fucking copy, because the Nazis for sure planned out to have him killed so that he could be a martyr. Anyway, what's up with this memorial? Yeah, it's weird as fuck, isn't it? It's weird as fuck, isn't it? Weekend at Bernie's too, the Fourth Reich tomfoolery? No. You can't say that. Good Lord. That's also fucking Stephen Miller, Donald Trump. They were at this memorial and like it was not like eulogies. This was a Republican rally is what it was. Actually, hold on. Let me see real quick. Here, I need an image of the inside. Stadium. No, I want a view of the stage. Oh, this'll do. Yeah, this'll do. And then really quick, Madison Square Garden Nazi rally. Go ahead, open that on the other tab. All right, kids. Where's my screen? All right, here's the stadium. Again, remind you, this is the memorial. This is the memorial. There were 200,000 people here and around the stadium. For those that live in the US, I wish. Go enjoy your food, Kaya. Thank you so much for the raid. I hope you have a good night. I hope you had a good time playing the game too, and it wasn't just beating your head against a brick wall this time. Thank you, Grizz. Yes, this was done at the, what was it? It's not State Farm, was it? I think it was State Farm. Yeah, it was a State Farm Stadium. This massive fucking oblong piece of shit. Yeah, but here's the chart. Here's what it looked like from the front. I would just like to. How's Upper GX? I kind of like it. It's decent. Say hello to Madison Square Garden and the Nazi rally. Again, this rally, though, was pitched as a pro-American rally. A place for true Americans to come and speak their minds. Oh, and then the next day there was a Rangers game. Yeah, they set up this whole thing, had one of the largest Nazi rallies in the United States ever. And then the Rangers beat the shit out of I don't forget what the opposing team was, 7-3. Let's go Rangers, baby. Let's go Rangers! Anyway, isn't this getting carried away? The comparison? Maybe a little bit. It's exacerbated. But the thing is again, this is supposed to be a memorial. Who's Tyler Robinson? Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old apprentice electrician that grew up in a MAGA household and decided that Charlie Kirk wasn't nearly right enough for him and decided to, you know, it's either that or he's the fucking scapegoat. Which, at this point, I'm not entirely sure is out.
Step inside.
Napkiner, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. How are you doing? Let's go ahead and swing back over to the chair. Desk. I'm more into Islanders than the Rangers. As in the A&M Corpus Islanders, or... Wait. I was gonna say, are you talking... BJ, are you talking about the A&M Islanders? I can't think of other Islanders. New York Islanders. Oh, hockey. Okay. I got you. No, I'm a Seattle Kraken. This is a Kraken household. Let me see. By the way, who's Tyler Robinson? Because I'm reading some articles. Yes, Tyler Robinson was supposedly the person that shot Charlie Kirk at his events on the Utah Valley campus. How are you doing, Nap? What trouble are you getting in? Oh, you're so cute, like you little hamster. Little hamster. Allegedly. Yes, allegedly. The thing is, like, watching the fucking... Because I was honed in on the fucking investigation as it happened, because this is going to be big fucking news. I know it's going to be big fucking news. And they're going to try some bullshit. And I think they are trying some bullshit, because so much of the shit that they have pitched as evidence makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. Like the apparent fucking Discord messages that Discord themselves initially said did not exist. And then whenever they released them, it basically just reads like, here is the evidence you are looking for, Mr. Government Man. I put it here and I did this thing and the stuff just like I had planned it to be. Also, I can see the police officers driving around looking for things and they have passed me. I'm going to go back onto campus to get the gun. It's so fucking stupid. Yeah. The entire report, the entire thing that's supposed to be their like Discord log reads exactly like, hi, how do you do, fellow kids? Type bullshit. Thank you for self-care, Hippo. Self-care brought to you by GamerSteps. Use code Dark Carnival. It helps support the stream. It's my favorite psychopomp. No. Oh no. Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean by that, Goofy? I'm not escorting people to heaven. Well, in the afterlife, really. Is this Psychopomp? Wow. Wow. Straws for a lick of anything to shirk the blame were they once? I mean, he still could have done it. Just like Luigi possibly could have done it. I don't think he did. I don't think he did at all. But we're all going to hell. Oh, hell yeah, baby. Hell yeah, baby. God damn it, 7. Denied. Denied. Get out of here with your skibidi shit.
A lovely gift from the beauty up front.
Hi, dude. How are you doing? I forgot about that one. That one was supposed to be money donations, but then I realized we don't really have, like...
Well, look at you.
Hi, Power Biscuit. How are you doing? Oh, my God. Okay, I'm not reading. Oh, actually, you know what? Hold on. Nobody delete that. Nobody delete that. Christ. I was considering reading it, and then I made it to the 3rd line, and I hated it so much more. Never mind. Never mind. Gone. Gone like the winds. He was the furry. He breathed near a trance. That's what they're trying to do. That's exactly... The bullets were trans. No. The roof of the building was trans. No. Playing a song straight to hell. Oh, I got you. I got you. Hold on. All right, kids, remember, today's the day before the rapture. Are you ready? This guy was trans. I mean, depending on which continuation of different personifications of the sky, of various sky deities, yeah, probably. I'm sure there was an early polytheistic sky goddess that eventually became Yahweh. Or El. Try trans-dimensional eldritch creatures like the entire Dark Carnival? Correct. Finger guns. That his roommate is a right-wing furry femboy? Correct. And the thing is, like, the graper side of the right wings, if you want to meet the most transphobic people on the planet, shockingly, it is right-wing trans people. Or even worse, they are so desperate to get laid, but too far right to ever find a woman, that they just force one of their homies to be feminized. I wish I was joking. That's a fucking thing. So literally they, them. Technically true. That is technically true, Biscuit. Yeah, Christian God, it's always the weird thing too, is no God above each other. All right, okay, but can you explain the Trinity to me after that last statement? Like, is it 3 in 1? Is he the Son? Was he an independent person? Was it God walking on earth when Jesus was here? I'm gonna need some details on these, Mr. Churchman. So-called alt-right when you hot their prostate. What if I re-arrive to? I could not explain to you this situation. When you can't stop thinking about Rome even in bed. I mean, they're also the type of guys that are like, what is it? It's the Yojiro Hanma meaning that's like, anything that I love is a woman because I'm straight. It's the I have more testosterone than you, meaning everything that has less testosterone than me is a woman. Thanks, Hanma. Yeah, if y'all don't know what that is, that's Baki. That's the ogre himself. The man with more testosterone than a bull. So God has DID. Yeah, probably. If you lived for all of existence, I think you would probably develop some disorders. If it's weaker than me, it's a woman. Yeah, that's Yujiro Hanma. Farm boy and kitty thigh-high socks, you would understand it? Oh my god. Hi, Bard. Gone so far right, you wrap around to support trans rights? It's not even supporting trans rights is the funniest thing. They still hate trans people. It's just that they're so desperate to get laid by a woman that they will forcibly feminize one of the homies. They will. I wish I was joking. There are groups on old 4chan. Now, I didn't know this when it was active on 4chan. I've never been active on 4chan. But there was groups that would literally pool their money to give one of the dudes in the group the greatest transition they possibly can get. Just so that they would end up hot and so that they could bet each other. It's not gay if I'm spiking your meals with androgen antagonists. What? Gotta give him the Spiro. It's done. I grew up, you're all doing well. Hi, Bard. Sees everything as a woman. Correct. That is exactly it. Sorry, Corey, you gotta take the HRT. Did you remember to take your meds today, dear? That just goes back into the bathroom and opens the pill dispenser. Yeah, that's the weird thing. Do we? Oh wait, that's ad break, and I don't have anything ready. So give me just a second. We're gonna get Gardic phone. It's gonna take a couple seconds because this site will almost always fail to load the first time. Oh, it actually loaded the first time. Look at you. I got to make sure I get the link for this one. Do we need to talk about political horseshoe theory again? I feel like we need to talk about that again because it's dumb as hell. And it's been making the rounds again. I wish I was joking. I've seen those, like, you know, when you get those videos on TikTok that are just like 0 views, maybe 1 like. And they're just like an image with the shittiest music you've ever heard over it. And you're like, how did this get here? How did this get into my fucking feed? I got a couple of those. And the images are fucking horseshoe theory. And it's so stupid. The only correct thing to do when the deer doesn't take their meds, it's a comic where they give the meds via smooches. Oh my god. They made the Umas into pundits? No. Although I'm pretty sure I do remember at some point, I wish I was joking, seeing fan art of an Uma, but they were in an SS uniform. Because anime fans are the worst. Damn. But... oh, this palm. Wait, why did Twitter do that? Okay. But... okay, let me get out paints, and I'm going to sketch this up while we're waiting for the commercial break to end. Okay. Zoom, damn you. All right, let's do this. Put it in black. All right, we got 5 seconds, so let's go back real quick. We'll do display capture. All right, kids. It was a side mirror. I'm so pissed. No. All right, so this is kind of what it looked like. The way that they sectioned it in this weird as shit and stupid as shit diagram. Remember, political horseshoe theory is not real. As I go into this. So, real quick, down here, we're going to do left and right, obviously. This mark down here is center. This is the dead center, fence sitter motherfuckers on the political spectrum. On the left, you get the liberals. On the right, you get the Republicans. And no, I'm not going to put the Democrats. Putting liberals. Generally. This is generally how it goes. And that's pretty much the mark of the center. However, instead of having a spectrum that goes far out in 2 different directions, typically like, where's my pen? Brush. Like this, and you have your 2 ends, and then your center, and then liberals being on the left, Democrats being immediately on the right of center. So I'll take your word for it. It's okay. This is just going to be a quick explanation, generally. And then up here, these marks, these 2 marks are technically what would be the ends here. Again, left side would be, say, communism. And then over here would be fascism. Or complete, basically, let's be more specific. I forget it. No, I'm not going to spell it. I'm just going to say it. Authoritarian fascism is essentially where, oh, that is not what I meant to do, but that's fine. We'll just leave that there. So then, according to people who think political horseshoe theory is a thing that fucking exists, bring you over here. These 2 things, communism and fascism, are a fucking step away from each other, or in such a small margin that this whole area is the same thing to them. Communism is fascism, and fascism is communism. When all your political news comes from the eldritch creature doing pirate software. Listen, I can't draw to save my fucking life. Well, I can if I had my tablet out. I don't have the tablet out. And I don't use paint that often. Yeah, if you ever hear somebody who's like spouting some nonsense of like comparing like, what's the best? Mussolini to Stalin. Listen, there are authoritarian comparisons at those regimes. Those are both authoritarian regimes. The goal, however, were two completely different things. Chief draws. I used to try to draw, but since I moved back to Texas, I have not pulled it out of its box. It's been in a storage bin ever since. The Diet Blizzard grifter usurped the humble explanatory whiteboard. I got my brain when I read Diet Blizzard. My brain was like Dairy Queen. All right, but that's the gist that I was going to go over on that. I just wanted to do that pretty briefly. Pull it from the box? What? Yeah, and it's also the thing too with like those types of people that'll be like, yeah, communism and fascism are the same thing, are being one, politically disingenuous, and two, showing their entire asshole at their understanding of any sort of political ideology. And it's always funny to me too when somebody's like, communism has failed every time. Would you like me to get out the list of outside influences? As well as human greed. Also, Christian nationalism is trending. Uh-oh. And ISIS? ISIS is trending. And Christian nationalism. Oh, boy. Ooh. When America's federal agents resembles ISIS fighters, we have a problem. God damn it, 7. It's not going to get through. When is the knife slash cleaver ready? I messaged QB earlier. Let me actually go see. Oh no, that's not QB. That's Tommy. Ooh. All right. I should just keep going because it's a shorter path back to centrist. No. No. Why would you want to go to center? Center is like annoying status quo. What is this? Stickers that say Zionism is sexy? What the fuck? Who's Noah Schnapp? What? Unprecedented times? Honestly, if the unprecedented times were moving in a positive direction, I would be okay with it. But that's naked. That is a naked woman. Of course, somebody has the poor name ISIS. Why am I not surprised? Christian nationalism is just Sharia law for evangelicals. I mean, it would be if people actually understood what Sharia law actually is. That's the kid from... No!
What's your pleasure? What's your fear?
Wait. Is he from a later season? Because I don't recognize him. Will Byers. Maybe it's just that picture. Oh, he's the bowl cut. He's the fucking bowl cut kid. Hi, Kilda. Holy shit, thank you for the reading your season pass. Oh, wait, Twitch chat is reloading. God damn it, Twitch chat. Why do you do this to me? Charlie Kirk is the first school shooting Republicans have ever cared about. Damn. God, fucking Stephen Miller, dude. What a thumb of a fucking human being. He wants so bad to be Jobles. He wants so bad to be Jobles. Yeah, he's the bowl cut kid. Erica Kirk hugging and holding on to Trump at the memorial is the most uncomfortable thing I think I've seen the past week. And I've seen corpses. Watches all of Stranger Things in the Discord when? That's a good question. Honestly, I'd love to marathon it like a whole like season at a time. After he died was a picture of his corpse? Correct. That she gave her camera to someone else to take a picture of, like it was supposed to be a candid moment. True, he does kind of look like a corpse. People who run with the Christian nationalist realm constantly show themselves to be more nationalist than Christian in their sentiment. And then there's this fucking dude. It's somebody's tweet. So this is why women don't lead movements. Forgiveness isn't appropriate or an option today. What? God, these are the kind of people that watch those movies that are about like the infinite loop of violence and about breaking the loop of violence. And they're like, I didn't like this movie. It has an unrealistic premise. What? Is breaking a loop of violence a foreign concept to you? Alien concept? Science fiction, maybe? All right, rolls up sleeves. Let's continue perpetuating the cycle of violence then. Come here, bitch. Day after she was on Kono's stream. Yep. The British guy that documented the uprising in Nepal. Yeah, it was the guy that was going on vacation to Nepal, and literally the first day he was there was when the revolution kicked off. What the fuck? Charlie wants you to register to vote. They had a register to vote booth at Charlie's memorial. Fuck off. Wait, did you see the one guy who was red-faced and crying and supposedly upset that he had enough presence of mind to reposition the camera so an American flag was in frame outside the hotel? What? No, I didn't see that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Hold on. I'm going to absolutely throw. Let's go to the Turning Point USA website. At what point haven't they politicized? Oh, it's worse. It's worse. Media, no. Shop. That's what we want. All right, kids. Welcome to the official TPUSA website. Get out of here, ad. This is the homepage, by the way. They're selling merch. They're selling merch of their murdered founder. I thought it was a YouTube channel. Kind of, it's an organization. It's a right-wing political organization that Charlie founded in 2017. This man founded this organization and they made merch out of him. I think listen, we're gonna stick with this in their narrative. Charlie died and went to heaven. But can you imagine being Charlie Kirk and looking down and seeing what they've done with his corpse? His own company, his own family have done just about everything except put him in a glass coffin and wheel him around the country. So they're doing right-wing Che Guevara? Huh? Usually parading a corpse around is an attempt at a political movement. It's weirdly enough, historically, it is not that unheard of. But merch? Like, they used to take presidents around after they passed away to visit like landmark locations where during their presidency. But oh, he's holding a bunch of hats in one hand. Okay, I couldn't tell what that was for a second. I don't know, man. It's fucking sad. It's so sad. It doesn't. It doesn't go to a charity. I promise you it doesn't. It goes into Turning Point's pockets, which in turn may go to Erica's pockets, but that's not much better. No Charlie Kirk death train yet? Nope. Nope. You see the Mormon blogger that stole a bunch of his merch covered in, well, Kirk? Wait, what? No, I didn't. He stole the merch? How the fuck do you think that was going to work out? I can't imagine thinking that was going to go well for him. Can you imagine being so blindsided by greed that you were willing to just like rip off a bunch? I can understand stealing from corporations. So let's stick with me on this one. But just like, I need the money, and like runs over to somebody else's merch stand, just full arms swoops in as much merch as you can, and then runs off with it and starts trying to sell it across the street. Hi, Haitian. How are you doing? It's been a pretty good day. It's pretty good for a Monday. Kick in the teeth of his death catalyzed an expansion of the passenger rail system. I wish, but they would never. They would never over Charlie Kirk, because the railroad companies would never allow it. Ugh. Wait. Okay. Pyro at a funeral is a nice touch. Are you insane? Jeez, the opening memorial is Erica Kirk walking out looking like she just dabbed herself up with fake tears, trying to look as sad as possible, while pyrotechnics go off around her. And they put bulletproof glass all over the speaking podium. Oh my God. Oh my God, I didn't notice previously from the camera angles being directly in front of the glass, but there's massive sheets of bulletproof glass surrounding the speaking podium. They also had the emblem of the President of the United States on the podium. So it already wasn't an advertisement for Kirk. It was an advertisement for Turning Point USA and Donald Trump. Oh my God. Oh my God. I would honestly just hit him with the "say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry." Anyway. They're deified. They are. And the worst thing is it's just it's blasphemy all the way through. If you were ever raised any kind of Christian, really, it's blasphemy all the way through. So the cognitive dissonance to do this shit is just straight up psychotic. God, do we even need to talk about the religious psychosis going on in the United States right now? I mentioned this earlier. There are people that genuinely believe the AI video that somebody generated and sent to churches is Charlie Kirk contacting them from heaven. To co-op something terrible? Yeah. Yes. People generated videos of Charlie Kirk talking to people, quote, from heaven about how he is happy and how they should donate to the church. And I don't mean the church as in like the Catholic Church. I mean just whatever church you happen to be in at the time. Joe Hendry mentions. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. When did heaven get fiber optic internet? God. I had to teach my parents how to spot AI. I think I need to teach my parents how to do that. Check in on your parents? Yeah. And teach them how to identify AI. Time to donate to the Church of Satan? Hell yeah, dude. They're about to get busy. Especially because Oklahoma is going to be attempting to pass a law that forces their state universities to put a statue of Kirk in their main promenade. Which again, I don't think they can actually do, and I don't think it's going to pass, but absolutely fuck that. What happens if you don't do the work at Redeem? I do it eventually. I was actually just thinking about that before you said something. I was like, I know I still need to do the 10 push-ups. I know I still need to do the 10 push-ups. Let's do those right now. Before we jump over to the game. All right, let's do this. Whew. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. All right. What did I miss? Hi, Thorns. Is it more? Let me go see. Oh, shit, it is. You're right. It is. It is 20. You're right. I missed the other one. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, I had to take the headset off. Today was hair wash day, so it's drying and it's a little motherfucker. Ugh. Except when I don't but cross that bridge. Listen, it's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. Whew. Oh, no, I haven't done. I forgot the thigh slaps because I was too busy trying to show y'all that it was the it was almost the record. All right, let's do these other push-ups. Whew. Oh my goodness. So we got to do 20 now because we've just redeemed. Yeah, we got to do 20 more. All right. Whew. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right. All right. Jesus. Although those have been getting a little bit easier, not gonna lie. Those have been getting a little bit easier over time. Whew. Especially, I think it's because on chest and back day, I've been kind of pumping it a decent amount. Okay. I knew you could do it, I believe. Listen, I would have gotten through those eventually. I'm sorry. What the fuck is this animation? Okay, an animated backdrop of Matara Khan, but she's sitting on top of a waterfall. You know, I always forget Matara is supposed to be a kaiju. I constantly forget Matara is supposed to be a kaiju. I just toasted my brain on work and need to cool off of it. Hi, Kriston. How are you doing? Is that her? Hold on. That's her fucking cooch. What? That feels TOS. I'm not going to show y'all this. She is, yeah. Matara Khan is supposed to be a giant roach kaiju. It's not full on cooch. It definitely looks like it's supposed to be panties though. No, she's supposed to be like a kaiju roach. She's huge is apparently the thing I am getting at. And she is like the full size of this waterfall is what this animation is. Also, I can't hear out of my left ear. Hello? Hearing? Where did you go? Kaiju Roach Coochie. Listen, have you seen kaiju VTubers? They be ready to show that coochie whenever you ask. Ooh. Wait. Oh, it's somebody with the Videl plushie. April showers. Bring May flowers? Huh? Secret chats on the left side? What do you mean? So Marin Kaiju wins? When I can afford like more outfits and more forms at a faster rate. We haven't even got the design started with Izzy yet. I did get a quote, which I think it was about 400, which sadly is the same cost as the Switch 2. But honestly, I think I would rather pay for get the design started. I think I would rather get the design started than buy the Switch. Wait, did I add the Switch 2 to Throne? Let me double check. Oh, I did. I do have a Switch 2 on Throne. Here, I'm going to bring this up a little closer. I forgot I put it way down there with the other stream upgrade stuff. A kaiju. Yes, I did. I did mention that. I'd considered it for the longest time of doing having like a kaiju form, which could technically work with the monster form that Izzy designed for the 2.0 base. Like we could use that as a starter, kind of, maybe, perhaps, mayhaps. Physical things Baron could have. Yeah, that's true. That is what Throne's for, or Kofi. Actually, hold on. I recently like redid a thing on Kofi. Because I think I wasn't sure what to set it. Oh, summer design. I did mark it. I marked it 450. Okay. I did mark it. Excellent. Excellent. So yeah, the Kofi donation is already set to the summer design for Izzy stuff. Kaiju Coochie win. Do I need to go start talking to a bunch of the size artists I know at this point and being like, hey, bigger. Oh, good Lord. But I think we are ready to jump over to Pigface. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. Wait, what the heck is this? Did Zin get another model? I follow some artists that like very frequently do Zentreya fan art. Did she get another different cyborg model? God damn it. Oni Kanzai is working on it. That's why. That's why she hasn't debuted it. But it's being made. Another month, another Zentreya model. It looks like a Digimon. I can kind of see. I think it looks like maybe more like a Kamen Rider or something similar to like an anime Kamen Rider. Kind of sort of like a Gotcha Man, maybe. Gotcha Man. Anyway. She must be racing Mouse for the most models. I'm pretty sure at this point she's already beat Mouse. Mouse gets a new model like every few months. Zentreya gets one every month. If it's not a brand new design, then it is a 3D version of a 2D model or a 2D version of a 3D model. I'm back in the fucking building again. I know, tell me about it. Tell me about it. Also gets 2 versions of each model. Yeah, there's usually one that's like, she like gets one and then she'll get like a slap on the wrist. Wait, hold on. Maybe it is already finished. Yeah, there's a lot of fan art here of this new model already. It was just that the first one was the art of the person drawing it. Yeah, it's definitely always already done. Here's VTubers out of context clip of it. Crazy. It's a cool design. I will give them that. Very cool design. But Jesus, I guess. But why? The forest is on fire? Why is the forest on fire? Actually, hold on, chat. Did I posted the video in Discord? I need to show you this video I found earlier today that had me fucking cackling. Where is it? I'm pretty sure I put it in favorites. Yes, I did. Put that away. Put that away. All right. Quick screen time, and then we'll actually go to the game. There we go. And then let me actually make sure I change the audio. Game. All right, silence poison. Anyway, hi kids. All right, watch out. This may be loud.
Hey guys, I heard we were baking. This is so easy. I wonder why everyone's in a rush. Hey guys, I heard we were baking.
The thing is after I liked this video, I favorited it, and then I sent it to a bunch of people, and I started scrolling, and there's more. There's so many more. There's apparently a channel called Peyton, and these are the comments from that channel. And it's a guy that does baking recipes, like very simple baking recipes, like brownies or something like that. But he does them like very quickly, but also playing like horror movie chase music, which is why all of the people are fucking panicking. Hold on. I need to go find there's a version that somebody made. Where are my messages? I sent it to Faye. Oh, hi, why did I hear myself? Hello? It was this one.
Let's turn this shirt into a vest. First, take one off. Fold, please. So down, I can't get the thread through the needle. I'm scared, you bastard. They got it first. Stop watching me.
I'm sorry, I forgot the ending part was someone was the person that was like basically eating the mic and it's just stop rushing me. I'm sorry. Go back. I need it again. I'm sorry. Wait, did I like any other versions of these? I don't think I did. No, I didn't. Oh, also this. This is it. This is one of 2 introductions I've ever had to Avant-Garde, which is apparently a dance group in Japan, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they're a dance group in Japan. They just dress like young French girls. Anyway.
Hey guys, I heard we were baking. This is so easy. I wonder why everyone's in a rush. Hey guys, I heard we
Terrifying things I've seen on stream. The girls coming towards you. Oh, hold on. I need the extra arms. That's what we need here. There we go. What's funny, this isn't even the first one they've ever done of this. Do I have both of them saved? Let me see. Oh yeah, here's the first. This is the first introduction I had to this group. Me and chat coming to kick people's ass. All right, chat, line up. We're doing the dance. Anyway.
How do I start an F-16? The question's real. I stole an F-16. Flip the master, all the lights begin to feel. I stole an F-16.
I signed no dancing waivers. Sorry, it's in the contract.
I stole an F-16. Engines whining as the
Piss on? Not a chance. I'm not pissing on that statue. That's a waste of good. That's a waste of piss. Just think for Reagan's tomb. Pink. F-16. Sunsets. I said right.
I stole an F-16. Oh, watch the gauges and the
Needles climb. I stole an F-16. Wait till 20, it'll take its time. Oh my goodness.
Throttle back down to
Idle mark. I don't know why. There's that line for some reason tickles my brain.
With a rumbling spark, I stole an F-16. Unlock the gate and push it free.
All right. That's enough of the I stole an F-16.
Alive with a roar of glee.
I like the shanties. Anyway, if you want any more of those, Cinema History. Unfortunately, it is AI. This person does use AI for basically all of these, but they are very funny and apparently correct, which I think is the scariest part. Because there's also how to fly an A-10 Warthog, or how to start an A-10 Warthog. Anyway, anything else? All right, spooky bitch. Someday. Anyway. I mean, I don't think we need to show white man speaking little Mandarin. Anyway, Mongolian. How did we get here? Distraction. I wanted to show y'all this.
I heard we were baking.
And then ADHD.
Where's the condensed milk?
This is so easy. I wonder why everyone's in a rush. Hey guys.
I'm sorry. I am the problem child. Here. I am easily distracted. All right, let's put that away. Put the screen away. And then I am going to get the game set up momentarily. I will give y'all the music. And then let me go change the category. We're playing Pig Face. Pig Thos. Boop. Boop. Okie dokie. Load, damn you, game. White man jump scare. I need to get one of those like jump scare sounds that people usually do where it's like that heavy beat drop. I don't like that sound. I clicked the wrong thing. That's not the game. There we go. And then we will swing right on over. Sorry, 3 days grace. You're going on pause until the next commercial break. Pig face, pig face, pig face. Just do Vine Boom sound, but zoom into the screen. You have paperwork to do. You can't be watching TikTok and she's gone. No! Why aren't you loading? Also, hold on a second. Let's turn up a little bit of this. Okay, I was gonna say, is it gonna load? Big Face is still in early development. This version does not represent the final product and will lack features that will be present in the finished game because it is in early access. But I was given this game. Can I reduce that a little bit? 1920, 60 hertz. Full screen, that's fine. Gamma's fine. Turn you up a little bit. Do we want to keep the VHS filter or do we want to get rid of it? What are we saying? We're gonna schmurder. Yeah, we're gonna schmurder. Also, you posted funny? Okay, let me go find the funny. Why are you all posting thighs in general? Okay. Oh no, why is it Instagram? Sushi bake and spam musubi? Not the sushi bake. Not the sushi baked musubi though. Yeah, I've seen this. I've seen that woman who does the like your Uber driver threatening stuff. Ugly Bastard game, or is this some spin-off game? We play a psychotic woman that wears the mask of a pig to kill people. I'm sure this will go great. Just a bit of thigh as a reward, please. Pretty please. All right. Do we have a verdict on the VHS? No VHS? This is me clicking it on and off. We'll stick with it for now. We'll see if I get a headache. New game. Are you sure? Yes, because I have not played this game yet. Oh.
Caesar. We've got exit.
Wait, what? Hold on, is that us? Hold on, I'm scrolling down.
Didn't expect us this time.
Okay, no, I think this is somebody else.
No kidding.
It's Tasteful Thigh. Is
Yes,
it?
we're approaching the warehouse.
When you're wearing a leotard
Will do.
and the only thing covering your cooch is a thin piece of fabric, is it the same as looking at thighs that's wearing like pair of pants or skirt? Who let the board in here from Control? Rummaging sounds. Okay. Where am I? What do you mean needle sound? Am I in a box? Oh no, I'm gross. Okay. I have legs? Oh, I do have legs. What the, am I wearing camo pants? Okay, this sensitivity is definitely too low. Meow. Hello?
Hello, exit.
Exit?
It feels like something's been implanted at the base of your skull. That's because there has. It's a small explosive device, one that I can detonate at any time.
What the fuck?
It's in your best interest to listen to me.
Oh, I can push
There's
it.
a lever in this room. I want you to find it and pull it.
Excuse me, I'm just gonna...
Good. Now I need you to find a weapon. We left a few down there, so take a look around.
Bat.
Good pick. Now head upstairs.
Hold on, I wanna look if there's more. Hammer. No, I want Bat. I want Bat. Uh-oh. Yeah. Why did it get locked in place? I broke the game already, kids. I broke the game already. Is this a speedrun? Did I already win? We could always do Booba. I'm walking forward. I fucked up. I broke the game. I broke the game already. All right, give him a baseball bat.
Now I need you to find a weapon. Good pick. Now head upstairs.
So this was shovel there. Hello? Key to toggle flashlight.
In the next room, there are some people that we've paid to try to kill you. I want you to show us what you can do.
Control the crouch.
Down you.
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Cast bread over every egg.
Wait, this is satisfying. Is there more? Oh, there we go. Oh, hi. Oh, wait. Oh, I was like, wait, did I just go through them? Excellent. Yes. Also, hi, Knight. How are you doing? I guess fireball in the top house? What do you mean? Personal space in your... Okay. Yeah. Oh boy.
Here's where you can get reacquainted with firearms.
Okay. Oh god, the music.
We've also set up some basic targets for throwing practice.
Okay.
When you're all set, break down this door and head to your real task.
Oh boy! Not looking to move back to university. Oh shit! Using a throwable melee weapon, press mouse 2 to aim. Oh, can I do it with bait? Oh no, that's block. Okay. Whoops. Oh, neat. Okay, it seems pretty straight when it comes to those. Okay. Gun. Right click to aim. This increases accuracy at the cost of slowing you down. Shotguns are not affected by moving or aiming accuracy. Oh. Satisfying. There's no reticle though, so it's kind of weird. Hmm. 30. You know what? Let's do this. We'll take this. Bitch. Okay, I can't just click the... One of the meds you can use is morphine. It heals you back to full health on use. Press V to use it. You can hold up to 3 meds at a time. Stash any extras that you find. If you don't have morphine, you can slowly regenerate half your HP by not taking damage for 8 seconds. Okay, well, it let me pick up all of those, but... Anyway... Where'd you come from? Oh, Jesus. Oh, she's above me.
Hey! Everyone's down.
That is fantastic. Woo! Buddy, you have a gun. Oh, Jesus, you have a gun. Oh, Jesus. Damn, bitch. He was ready for me. Sorry, bud. Coming up. Oh, God, Uzis. I want other guns. I want other guns. I want more shotgun ammo. Oh, neat.
Good inside now. We've got the van waiting.
Van? Question mark? Is it this way?
I like watching you work, Exit. I knew you'd be a good pick, and I think you know why. When you're ready to go, step in the van. We'll take you to your apartment. You can get things sorted before your first job.
Okay. Me just standing in the van during the entire car ride.
This is
Oh,
your
gross.
apartment.
You didn't even give me good
Spend
windows.
time here between jobs.
Aw, man.
You can
This is
access
bad as the
jobs
Bloodlines
and
1
equipment
apartment.
by interacting with your laptop.
Lost at sea on Ordain? Oh,
You can
no.
also change your clothes by interacting with the mirror in your bathroom. Once you're ready, you can
Okay.
interact with the door to leave.
Joke's
Oh,
on you,
and
I'm
one last
Dutch.
thing. We've left you a little something to get you started. It's over there on your bed.
A gift. I like gifts. All right, bed. Bed. Yoink, yoink. Wow, a cheap apartment that's using cardboard as padding. That doesn't sound like the best idea, but okay. Can I see the outfits? You know what? We'll go with this one. Nice. Laptop is where you select jobs and purchase equipment. World Map displays available jobs, and Bubba's Supply has equipment. Bubba's Supply. We got $1,000 already. Gun. Landmine. Extra morphine. Ooh. I want my double barrel. World map. Can I? Farmhouse. Sure, we'll do farmhouse. Okay. And then what else was there? Job selected for trying to leave. Okay. Sandwich. Yum, 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 yum. Where's my equipment? Does it like show up in the truck? Can I just go? Yum, 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 yum. Just stray food. Okay. Murder? Murder? Oh.
Hey, new girl. If you're confused about what any of this shit is, don't worry about it. We sent you some instructions. Just check the note over there.
Smiler mask can take up to 6 meds into a job instead of 3 if you have them. Oh. Oh, okay. So this is how the selection works. No armor, no melee. Oh, I should have bought a melee. Okay, so this is technically the layout. So yeah, this would be whatever the special weapon is. And the smiler, which I think we can change. Oh no, that was the health. How do we change you? Create your loadout by cycling through the owned weapons with the red buttons. If you have attachments to your guns, they will show up on your gun itself and you will have to interact with them to use them. If you want to try the stats of items, when know the stats, read about them in the respective screens. Interact with the van door when you're done. Okay. Murder. Moida. Take the drug samples from the barn, find 2 file folders inside the house. Kill all gang members. 25?
Remind you that you can see objectives on your phone. Now break a leg.
All right. Hey, buddy, come here. Whoop. Where Where you going, buddy? Drugs. Why was that just a bag of like cocaine and needles? Interesting strategy. Come here, bud. Dusted. Amy Hoosits. Guys, there's a shotgun blast going off in your yard. Don't get up. I insist. Actually, why am I not taking one of their guns? Come here. Oh, it can only have one gun at a time. Ow, hi. Ow, ow. Oh, damn it. I didn't hit any of them. Stop it. Okay, that was fine. Where are you going, buddy? Come here. Done and dusted. Anyway. Don't get up. Don't get up. Ooh. Okay, so there's parts for some reason. Oh, I heard you. Hi. You know, that slide was really satisfying. Why are y'all having wizard duels in chat? That's for the Discord server. Hi, guys. What are you doing? Woo.
What's your pleasure? What's your fear?
I need a gun. I don't have a weapon. Oh my god, give me the gun. Give me your gun. Wow, these things have no ammo in them. We've got enough for like one clip. Discord isn't for potion making? No, it's for wizard battles. Duh. Give me the pizza. What's this? Hey, so if you're the person who keeps hogging all of the dino nuggets each time we're up, you and I need to have a serious fucking conversation. BB? Fucking dino nuggies, dude. Give me those. Okay, there were a couple things that we were missing, wasn't there? Yoink, yoink. Yoink. September batch notes. Some shakes, dizziness and nausea. One case of a dude going completely numb for 4 days. Fell off of roof last week. Could be related. Think we're good for ship. Needs sign off. Oh, good lord. Okay, it was tab. Drug samples from barn. Find 2 file folders inside the house. Kill all gang members. So there's only 6 left. It's not too bad. Excuse me. Coming in. God, that vibrating sound scared me. All right, so I think the rest of these 6 guys are going to be upstairs. Yoo-hoo! Big summer blowout. Oh, I knew it. Come here, bud.
Oh, shit!
Oh, hi. Bitch, 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 bitch. You thought? Give me a fucking wrench. Give me these. Let's heal. Then we'll take those. Oh, it's hospital junk. All right, where are you at, Chucklefuck?
Hey!
stupid.
Good work. Head back to the van.
Damn, I can't believe I just shattered that man's head. Not gonna lie though, the rain effects in this game sound pretty good. Is that hold on, I wanna make sure that's everybody. No, we're missing one. This is important. This is important. Where are they? Where's this chuckle fuck? What the fuck is that? Did I just find an Easter egg? I don't like that. All right, so where's this last person? Oh, shit. My egg! It looked like a man's face. Not gonna lie. God damn it, ad break. Fuck me, dude. It's already a minute left. Yeah, I need to work on the, for it to like start playing something when an ad break starts. iPad isn't even a list of priorities. I know, I'm sorry. I still need to gather the commercials I want to use. I already found one I like. But I need to figure out how I'm gonna like model this. Model the like little TV commercial that we're gonna do. I also want to get like an intermission design. Oh, hi. I knew there was gonna be a bitch up there. Stand up. Oh, you're still alive. Come on. Let's say I should have known there was somebody up there because when I was walking, I was like, I swear there's a platform up there. There's nobody there though. Oopsie daisies. All right, now we're good. All objectives completed. Excuse me, pardon me. It is time to go. Baron brand commercials? Maybe someday we'll record something like that. But right now, I don't think I have the skills to be able to edit a commercial. Or at least even the like know-how to make a decent commercial.
Sample came back. It's the same dog shit we've been finding everywhere else.
Oh, the same dog shit drugs?
I'll be giving her her next job soon. Don't worry. By the way, I've been meaning to ask you about something.
Okay, so we're also getting views of whatever this organization is.
No, of course not.
Damn it. Hi, Envy.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Why are all these places dog shit? Why do they all look terrible? What up, Biatches? Hi, Buckshot. Oh, that's us. I think. Pretty sure that's us. That looks like the apartment. That looks like the camo pants we were wearing before.
You did well. We looked at the documents you retrieved from the house and found another one of their...
Who put my door back?
Looks like a lily pad. A place they take materials, make their shit, and send it somewhere.
Wait, what do you
else.
mean, no mask?
Check the map on your laptop for the job.
New shop items punch. They changed my clothes! Yes, excellent. Alright, what do we got? A Bubba Supply. Ooh! I want the axe. S357. Everyone knows Snub Nose has the power to change the world. It's up to you to pull the trigger. Oh no. Alright, what do we got? Mac 10, double barrel. Laser sight! Yeah. And then... Okay, we'll get that. Oh, that's adding to our total count. Okay, I see. Wait, morphine's $500? Damn. That phone and none on the actual phone? Correct. All right, we'll do this next mission, and then we'll probably get our first piece of armor. Do you know what? Just so that we can own them, because apparently you get to kind of like keep these. We might as well just like kind of scoop them up. Scoop them up. And then I'm pretty sure the special ones, these are all consumables. They're less special and more just consumables. All right. World map. Oh. Sunset Hotel Warehouse. Wasn't warehouse where we were? Okay, this is for, wait. Oh, okay, this is just, that's basically do the tutorial level again. Objectives. Kill Bonbon. Find the laptop on the second floor. Optional, destroy 3 of their lab setups. Abandoned motel that was occupied by some squatters up until recently. It says in the files you can retrieve from the farmhouse that this place belongs to Bonbon, whoever that is. From the outside, this motel seems to be a lily pad. The Smilers ferry drugs from the motel into the city, though we're unsure if drugs are produced there too. Whatever the case may be, your orders are to destroy any and all drug-related equipment, to find information. They'll reveal more about their places of operation, and to kill Bonbon. Yay! I get to murder Bonbon. Sandwich. Hold on, where's the pizza? Where's the random pizza? Nom nom. All right. What about squatters' rights? I want the shotgun. I like the double barrel. We don't need specials. Where's my axe? Yeah, we're bringing the small axe on this one. Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right, I think we're good. Let's go schmurder. Oh god, there's guys on the roof. Fuck. You have a rifle? Give me that shit. Oh, I missed. Oh. Woo. All right. Head ass. Ooh, what was that? Oh, he had a snub nose. Woo! Damn. All right, where you at, buddy? Ow. What is this body doing? Gimme. Gimme. Hey, buddy. Come on, come all the way down. Whoops. You still got up? Are you serious? Hey, buddy, you gonna keep dancing down there, or do I need to come find you? Oh, good lord. Come on, bud, come on. Oh my god, he's broken. Okay, that one I feel kind of bad about. Can you imagine being like chilling on the floor, high out of your minds, and then just like, oh, and then you just get blown away? Okay, hold on. Let's go get this weird guy that's like kind of stuck. Thing is, oh, hi.
She's over here. Look out.
Where did you come from? Hi, buddy. What are you doing over here? I still feel kind of bad. All right, let's go upstairs. Let's figure out how to get up there. I know you're right around the corner. Woo! Damn it. I'm practically out of ammo. Give me this. Okay then.
So mean!
I hear you.
Don't want to be friends.
Bleh. Okay. Oh, I see you over there. All right, can I find... Where are the guys that I took out up here? Do they have more rifles? No, that's a hammer. 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 Give me that Uzi. That'll do. Damn it. I wish I'd gotten another rifle. You have a rifle, though. All right, let's go back down.
So annoying!
Ow.
I hate you so much right now!
Ow, but what the fuck? I tried to heal. It's hospital bill. Apartments? Oh, no. Oh, shit. That's fine. Oh, I need to go select a job again. I hit to heal. I'm upset. Okay, let's make sure. Everything looks like it's still purchased. All right, let's go back. Let's sigh. Lost the hospital, yeah. We lost our money. We lost our money. X, that. Damn it, we were doing so well, too. All right, let's get our buddy here.
I see you! Someone's hurt! Someone's down! See you! Over here! Where are you? Look out! One of the fleeters!
What the heck? Why am I stuck on? Okay, I kind of want to see what this is. Oh, shit. Oh. So I think this is, if we can get a patio chair up here, we can tape up some canisters to it. Then all we need is some electronics and like a helmet and boom baby fucking rocket. Oh, no. Oh, hi. You came all the way out here just for me? Hi, guys.
Look out!
Who said that? Listen, as long as the melee guys are chasing after me, that's better than... Still no rifles here. Seriously? Snub nose? Oh shit, I clicked the wrong button.
Surprise!
Jesus. Okay, we found one of the things. I already forgot what the button for flashlight is. Still some dude running around out there.
She's over there!
Anyway, give me my axe back. Okay, then. Oh, this is not the fire. Come on. Okay, then. You do some more snooping. Because I need more drugs. I've only got the one. The wound. I've only got the wound. Oh, hi. Do you? The music wind down was kind of funny, I'm not gonna lie. Thank God, give me those. Okay, this was a section we didn't make it into last time. Okay, so that's a 1. You need to... Yeah. Hey, buddy. What is over here? What's down here? I see you! Okay, then let's go in the back. Backdoor visitations. Come on, buddy. The ping. Hey, hey. Yeah. There's explosives in here. I should not be shooting in here, I'm pretty sure. Ow, ow, dude. What? Oh, the barrels exploded. Motherfucker, dude. Jesus, this is hard. Give me your fucking gun. I hate that I missed that. Oh, hi. Ow, 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 ow. Where's my fucking shotgun? Oh, shit. What the fuck? What is that reload? Hello? When did you get behind me? Okay. Hi, guys. Oh, you're still just standing here doing nothing.
Fuck, it's one of them.
Oh, need to reload. Can I... Oh, I threw my axe. That's right. Hello. Oh, no, nothing. Wait. Yoink. What happens if we run out of money and we can't pay the hospital? Do we have to like completely restart the game over? Or do we like go into debt? Oh, wait a second. Oh, that won't get me up there. Wait, there was something on the other side of the compound. There was the computer, right? Oh, so we gotta go up here. Gotta go all the way across. Fuck you, shitheads. Hold on. Damn. Crumpled. Oh, hey, there's another one. Oh my god, reload! Reload! God damn it!
What's happening?
What the fuck? Oh my god. So when you try to heal yourself when you reload, neither does it reload nor does it heal you. Seriously? Knock that shit off. Oh, what the? Oh my god.
Who's that?
That failed. Seriously? Stop crouching! I have no more heals. I am out of ammo. Fucking damn it. I don't know why it's like double firing. At this point, I'd rather switch to having the snub nose. I'm stuck. What the fuck?
So annoying. She's over here.
Okay. Is it V? Damn it, what is the... Controls, what is the button for flashlight? T, why is... T. Okay. All right, all you dudes coming or not? Give me the shit. I need the extra money. Oh, god damn it. Oh, I got fucking stuck. Oh, shit. Whew. Did you die? Okay, I think you died. You still up here? Oh, you are still up here. Oh, shit. Oh, motherfucker. I just want to change fucking weapons. When does this game even come out? Thursday. Became available to play Thursday. World map. Actually, hold on. Go back. Guns. This is the snub nose. Let's get shoe pressure. Excellent. I did not mean to click that. I meant to go here. Gimme. Gimme. All right. We're definitely buying the medium armor next time. Voice acting, wow. God, that is so goofy. Hmm. 20 times 24. Damn. You know, I'm fine with that. Which we also have no morphines left. Cool. Put the fucking phone down. Now it's an entirely different game. Now it's Hitman. Oh. Woo.
Easy, girlie.
I know y'all are just springing bullets. I saw that shit. Where are you? Jesus, I don't know. I'm stuck again. Playing on some serious hard mode here. I just saw you up there, buddy. You gonna come back out or are you coming after me? Okay. Jesus. Oh my God. Why are they so accurate? Jesus. I'm dead if I don't find fucking morphine. Did I do that? And there's so many edges to get stuck on. Okay, I'm pretty sure I remember right. If we go this way... Oh, there's none here. Oh! I got back up. Oh. Okay. Okay. Fucking jumped. Okay, there's nothing in that chair. Hello? No, I don't think there's ever anything in here. Okay, then. I very much would like to have more morphine. Pwitty please. Pwitty please. That I don't think I can get there. Okay. Again, I'm about out of ammo. I'm working with 6 bullets in a dream. Okay, and then back here was the loop around.
Yep, that's me. You're probably
Shut up!
wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Game's hard! Thank God. Yo, give me the baseball bat. Okay. Take those for sure. Hell yeah, all the morphine, baby, all the morphine. Will you do the peanut butter jelly with the baseball bat? Wait, what? Peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly. God damn it. Get up. All right, out of ammo. Time to go steal a gun. Oh, wait, there's a rifle. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Excellent. Excellent. Ooh, I saw you there, buddy. You with the other rifle. Oh, come on! I deserve that, honestly. I think I deserve that. Hup. Hup. What's in here? Bricks. What's in here? Bricks. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Regular snub nose. That'll get the job done. Even if it's just 6 bullets. I feel like the longer this game goes on, the more likely we are. We're definitely going to get like higher firepower guns. How goes the Far Cry? The Dusk engine. I can see that that guy had another rifle. Okay. Now my goal is to sneak my happy ass across these rooftops. Okay. Whew. Okay. You know what? Let's go. Just to guarantee that we don't get headshot. Oh, God damn it. Oh, come on. Also, I do not want to stand next to that barrel. Potatoes!
She's over here. Whoa.
Oh, there's also a snub nose here. Oh, wait, no, that's the one that I put down. That's right. Duh. Okay. So now we need to get another gun. You can hit me as much as you want. Come here. You have a melee weapon. I'm gonna bash your fucking head in. Actually, let's go up. You coming? Did she lose me? Is that what that is? Okay, one guy there. Oh, hi.
Get back!
Anyway. She'd get here eventually. Like the grunt from Halo. Which part? The wah. All right. There's a snub nose over there that I'm gonna go grab. Oh yeah, just give me the ammo. That works. Okay.
What? Can't see fucking anything out of this. Heads up!
I was gonna say, let's just blow up that room. Okay. Oh, there's still one. Okay, let's get out of here. We got 2 shots. Or nah, we'll just take the Uzi. Okay, I don't like that. Do they make a contact mine out of that barrel? Oh, hey. Excuse me, sir, because I know you're right there.
Who's that? Huh? It's one of those cleaners. Still want to be friends?
Oh! Who was that? Oh, that was Bon Bon. Oh. 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 Okay. Yoink, yoink, yoink. Oh, we still need to find the other drug lab. Which... I think maybe out here, honestly. Oh, nope, that's an invisible wall. So let's go check this other section. Yeah, because we didn't go in here yet. Ah, there it is. I still need to loot, though. I must loot. Although there's nothing in here. Okay. Hi, guys. Excuse me. Drugs in the toilet. Sure, I'll take it. Why not? And then we can just leave this way. Whew. We lived. Hi, Impy. I'm taking this rifle with me. Because maybe it means we'll unlock it. Excellent. Excellent. 1 week later, you had a whole week between jobs? Wababa? Am I that forgettable? No, I said hi to you earlier. I just want to say hi to you again. Mashed potatoes? Oh my god. Phone, hello?
That laptop you found in the motel had good info on their operation. Looks like they've taken residence in one of the city's old rail stations. It's where the drugs are coming and going.
Train
Sending a drill
station?
with explosives. Blow it all up.
Wait, what does that say? Attention landlords. That's like that's a bunch of ads. Fuel oil? It's like a bunch of overlapping ads. Attention landlords. Why does it also reset my outfit every time? I want my black glove outfit. I like my black gloves, please and thank you. All right. Bubbas. Guns. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? SKS. Found this one old trunk my dad left me. Shoot straight. Looks cool. Okay, gimme. And we have enough for medium armor. Okay. I think we're good. Actually, we'll add a scope to the SKS. Deer, squirrels. Oh, wait, is this the gun? This is the rifle. Damn it. Damn it. I'm pretty sure this is the rifle that we brought back. Not sure. We'll see. World map. Zoom out. Oh. Train station. Yoink. Okay. More schmurder. Thing is, though, is now we're going to be inside. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hmm. 60 damage. 300? Jesus. Hmm. 5 rounds. Or do I just bring the snub nose again? Yeah, there's a Mac 10. And I can put a silencer on it. But I think I want to bring the snub nose again since I know we're going indoors for sure. Take the baseball bat for sure. Oh, it was the sloth mask that we found. Trigger slow motion effect. I kind of want the more heals right now because they're a little too useful. All right, let's go try this. See how much we're gonna die. My husband is dead. Don't say it, don't say it. Those are landmines. Oh, hey guys. Do we need to talk about the inclusion of this billboard?
What's your pleasure? What's your fear?
Jesus. Jesus! Who did that? Hi, Free. Thank you for the 3 months. Goddamn. Oh, what are you doing? Okay. You know, I'm not exactly liking how big this area is. Also, there's a rifle. Ooh. How do I get to be able to carry multiple rifles or multiple guns? Oh, good Lord. This is so stupid. Okay. What do we need a rifle for? What is this little buried building here? Again, it seems like we're able to find... I don't think I can get up here or onto here. Can I? Okay, yeah, that's definitely... Okay, I'm gonna wait for the next time the train passes, I think. There it is. Oh, hey. Look at the dude over there with the rifle. Oh my god, he's down. What the fuck am I doing? Okay. Am I cracked or am I cracked? I guess. I don't know. This is so stupid. Oh, hi. Listen, as long as I pop skulls. Then it's easy peasy, baby. John Wick ass moment. Okay. Damn, can you imagine being these dudes? I don't think they'd be having a good time. That is until... Oh, hi. I'm so glad she didn't see me. There's more over... Oh, my God. Eliminate the chef. Straight ammunition supply underneath the station with C4. Destroy the drug shipment in the back of the station with C... Oh, my God. Whew. Why is this place so fucking big? Why do they spontaneously see me all of a sudden? God damn it. Go down. Okay. Wasn't there two people? Where did they go? Oh, there you are. I'm pretty sure I didn't kill her. But okay. Oh, come on, dude. Come back in the line of sight. You had, like, some kind of rifle, it looked like. Where did you go, buddy? I don't want to face check you. He's right underneath. Hey, there's a rifle right there. Oh, he's wearing armor. Okay. All right. Time for the annoying parts. What else do we have out here? Oh, hi. Good lord, you are hideous. Oh, that is an AK. Jesus. Yeah, I think they've made the NPCs in this game a little too, what's the word? Accurate or sensitive? I missed the twain. The twains! It's the really ugly tin can American subways. Where did that dude go? Oh, my butt hurts. Nope, I see you. Oh, damn it. God, where did they get landmines? Oh. Wait, did somebody just get creamed by the subway? Is that what that sound was? Y'all heard that, right? Okay. What do you mean, there I am? Shut. Oh my god, you're joking. Whew. I knew that chucklefuck was still gonna be around here. Alright, where's your gun? You have the same gun I do. Thank you. Baseball bats. Okay. Again, I don't trust that this train will just like one-shot me. Oh, there's something. Oh, that's a C4. Okay. Okay, I would like to go back up, pretty please. There we go. Okay, so now I need to find... We need to go inside the building. Great! I'm sure this is gonna go dandy and totally not where all the NPCs I haven't killed yet are. Wait, there's a bunch of good stuff right there. Hold on. Oh. Okay. That guy had a rifle, but I don't think I'm gonna bother going to get it. Yeah. Let me back up. Whew. I thought I heard it coming. All right, hold on. We gotta go the long way again. I gotta go to the jumping puzzle because then I want to see if I can get through that window. Hup. 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 Uh-oh. Next window. All right, there's a rifle. Did we leave anybody? Anybody down there? That looks fine to me. Looks fine to me. Okay, we got 5 minutes until the ad break. Okay, these aren't openable doors. But yeah, I think we're gonna find the chef and the... Hold on, I was raised with firearms and I'm neurospicy. My brain memorized firearms as if it's a wiki. Probably Kara Walters on my auto because few security companies will let you use a revolver anymore just because it doesn't look cutting edge enough. Oh my god. No? Okay, hold on. What? Underneath the station. Okay, that makes me think we need to go all the way down here. Is there an entrance down there? I can't tell. Oh, maybe? That's a landmine, though. Good fucking luck? What do you mean, good fucking luck? Okay. There's no way there's gonna be a bunch of people down here, right? That would just be standing around waiting for the mines? I don't know what you have, man, but you're, whatever that is, it does not look good. Well, she has another one. Oh, it's a double barrel. I say those look like shotguns to me. That is not a double barrel. Okay, okay. Here, we'll just hang out on this mattress. You know what? We're gonna leave. We are leaving, soldier! Please don't die. Please don't die. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Come on. Hello? Oh. Don't mind if I do. Wait. There you are. Oh, and nails. Oh, I can't get up the walls. I'm pretty sure we cleared away all of these. And then the... Yeah, I was just over this barricade. That went well. Let me in. What'd I do? Get taller during the mission? Oh, we did do the bonus. Oh, I forgot the bonus was an extra 1,000. Damn it. Damn it. All right, we got 1 minute until the ad break. What is this 2 frames of Popeye the Sailor Man?
Did you notice those police uniforms?
Huh?
Landmines? Seems like there was a breakout recently. A bunch of your old pals decided to form up and start making explosives. Call themselves jumpsuits. Stupid fucking name. Anyways, we're sending you into their territory to clean up.
What?
They can piss wherever they please.
The phone down. Give me back my fucking clothes. Hell yeah. All right. What do we get? What do we get in the shop? Shovel, sledgehammer. Ooh. Guns first. AK-47. That's what we just got. Because we kind of stole it. Well, we didn't properly steal it. Puppy fires fast. Okay, so this is the one. You know what? Excellent. Armor. Okay, armor's still fine. We need a couple more themes. Where is my... Is it? This is the snub nose, isn't it? What other dumb upgrades can I get for things? Deer, squirrel. SKS. Fuck it, we ball, baby. And then... Look at both. Ad break, I see it, I see it. All right. Real quick, pause, there we go. Pause, I said. And then I will bring up Gartic phone. All right. I'm gonna go run to the bathroom. Better be working. You better not. Okay, it's working. It's working. All right, I'm gonna be back in a couple minutes, chat. I will give you the music in just a second. Don't burn anything down. Have fun with Gartic phone. Good. Now's a good time to go refill your water if you need to. I'm observing the ads. Okie dokie. What'd I miss? Who died? Everybody okay? Shit's on fire? Okay. Oh, good timing. Wait, did y'all not win the last round? God, why is this game so hard? Brick? Cornerstone? Alien? Zipline? Shotgun? Double barrel? Shower? Bathrobe? Damn it! Damn it! Arson, destruction, death, and fireball? Oh no. Oh no. All right. Hold on, why do I have so many notifications? All right, there we go. What the Oh no. Oh no. Somebody took the gun devil from fucking, was it Chainsaw Man and put him in fucking Texas. God damn it. All right. We still need to select the map. Yeah. Suburbs? How is that? Why does this place look like it's post-apocalyptic?
Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't spread over every egg.
Some of these have to be drawn wrong because of how were we not getting them? I don't know, man. I honestly, or somebody's like, it's somebody's thought of like, this is the way I decided to draw this thing, and it like only makes sense to them. Thank you for the eyes. All right, turns out the Smilers weren't smart enough to make their own explosives. Go figure. From what cleanup found at the train station, the Smilers have some ties to another gang called the Jumpsuits. Anyways, we're sending you to one of their recent spots, a quiet suburb that they took over and trashed. Orders are to find the schematics for the landmines they're making and to eliminate a guy named Kill Switch. He seems like one of their ringleaders. If you manage to kill everyone there, you'll get a bonus. Hell yeah. Schmurder is the Yum. Wait, did we buy more? Okay, no, we don't have enough because the fucking morphine costs $500. All right. Yoink, yoink. God, that is... Okay, hold on. 135 damage. What the fuck? Wait, what is... I thought this was a shotgun. Why does it have a scope? Do I dare bring this gun? Texas Chainsaw Man? Oh no. Hi, Drunken Crow. How are you doing? Okay, do we bring the rifle or do we bring the fucking snub nose again because I'm stupid? Wait, we never equipped our armor. God damn it. Hell yeah, baby. Sledgehammer. Sledgehammer. I've been doing pretty decent. It's been going all right. We're doing okay. Snagnating is better than falling backwards. Up. Sending slugs to that motherfucker. Well, the thing is, whenever, like, here, let's do... Here, if we put this on and this on... Like, it says it's pellets, so it's 27 times 16 for 16 pellets. I also don't know what this is. What do you do? Thing is, though, is I'm pretty confident I don't want to take... something that's too ludicrously... I think we're just gonna take the snub nose again. Do I dare take the scope? We'll take the scope. We'll see how bad the scope is. Take twice as many bullets. That's good. I'm fine with being slow because we're kind of doing this, like, slow and methodical.
Pleasure, what you fear?
I'm starting not to like that second line. Boop, 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 boop. All right. Hello? Is anyone home? What the what are these maps? Hmm. Yeah. 40. There's 40 of them here. Oh, I see him. Okay, let's see if we find anything interesting up here first. Hello? Uh-huh. They have helmets here. God damn it. Oh, hi, buddy. Oh, yeah, they have helmets. Doesn't matter if I shoot him in the face. Oh, I couldn't shoot him in the dick. Okay. That guy has that's kill switch, isn't it? It is. That is kill switch. He had a fucking bomb vest stuck to himself. Crazy shit, dude. You think I could do it? Fucking wizard, dude. I'm a fucking gun wizard. Can you just imagine seeing some skinny bitch like standing on top of a pipe and then just fucking gunning your dudes down with a fucking snub nose and a scope? Oh my god. Yeah, just aim for the chin on these dudes. And then we'll go down there and we'll take somebody who's like AK. Again, there's that same billboard. It's just like a bunch of them. A gizzard, if you will. Okay, that definitely looks useful. Hey, buddy. No, don't get up. I insist. Yeah, just kind of blow people's legs. This is so stupid. Oh, there's landmines down there. Oh. It's only a single landmine. Okay, that's more than a single. You know what? Let's go through all of this ammo before we go down there and try to get a different gun. Oh, I see you. Oh. Hey, guys. Slump. No, please don't get up. I insist. Is that a mirror? What is that? Kill switch's body. Okay, hold on. Hold on. This is so stupid. I like it though. This is fun. I like doing sniper things. Hey, buddy. You'd make a great gun for hire. Listen, if only I could shoot this good IRL, I'd have to practice. It'd be a fun skill to have, not gonna lie. Just crack it out in the future. Never know. Yeah, I'm like, I'd have to, oh, there's a rifle right there. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to go down, I think, at this point. Because I'm guessing the stuff that we can't get to is like on that side of the bridge. It's a hand right there. Did you hear her just laugh? Right? I'm not the only one that just heard that, right? The character we're playing just laughed. You got the little... Alright, where'd you guys go? Y'all were panicking a second ago. Where'd you go? Oh, there you are. Hey, buddy. Big shot. Big shot. Alright, then there's more. So now we need to go get other guns. Unfortunately, though, that also means now we're out of silencer. Ugh. Alright, let's do this. Oh, I didn't even jump. Ow! Oh, there's faulting. Oh, that's a trip mine. Oh.
I see you.
Oh, shit. Let's go, Ben. Where'd you go?
Are you real?
I don't know. You want to find out? Ayo, shotgun. Bam! Were you hiding in here that whole time, bud? All right, let's go get... Oh. That's a rifle. Okay. Ah!
Can't see fucking anything out of it.
Jesus, dude. Okay, so there were people, like, right underneath me. Give me that real quick. And the ammo for that. Thank you! What were you doing back here, dude? What's back here? Maybe that's where this other guy came from. Maybe he wasn't in the house. He came all the way around. Okay. We're gonna take this gun. Because if we get headshots, doesn't matter. And mainly because a lot of these guys... See, there's like 2 of them here. Oh, hey, buddy. Am I not hitting either of those guys? The fuck is that sound? Come on. I'll hold the dirty peeks. I don't care. I can also see the sparkle through that window. See, as long as it's a person that doesn't have a helmet on. Then all we need is 1 or 2 bullets. Oh. I hear you. Where are you?
I hate you so much right now.
Where are you? I'm about to get blown away. I feel like I'm about to just fucking peek a corner, get blown away by somebody with one of those spas. But that also just sounds like one of the people that usually just has like the pipe wrench. Okay, there's only 13 left. Go ahead and reload that and then come take some of those other people's. Let's go ahead and blow up those barrels. Ah! Jesus. Oh my God, the lag. Holy shit. Oh, hi. Okay, I am glad I did not let him get that shot off. Whew. What is down here? Just beach chairs that have been sitting here since the 90s. A car? Hmm. You know what? Let's go ahead and try and go into the house. And God, don't let me forget about goodness, tripwires. Oh, come on, let me up. Okay, real quick, what's back here? Hup. Hup. Aw. Call of Duty, shoot a man. Shoot a man. Jump and shoot man. Do I have to go through the window? Why is that shelf steaming? The hell? Okay, hold on. Oh. Is that somebody? I don't think it was. I think it was just like grass animation or something. Hebe. Okay, let's try going up on that little sniper nook and maybe like we can get on the roof. See if there's like a drop down. What the hell? I don't understand how we're supposed to get in. Hold on a second. I'm gonna say that was a helmet sticking up over the top. I don't think I killed the person, but I think I took their helmet off. Yeah. Come on. No. That was the lady with the fucking big ass shotgun. I do not want to go peek that around a corner. Please. Oh well. All right, give me the gun back. How do we get inside here? No? Do I need to break? Can I break that door in the back? What the fuck? Yeah, I can't break that. Can I push it? Nope. How am I supposed to get whatever that is? Locate the landmine schematics in one of the houses. Those are definitely landmine schematics. Oh, okay, there we go. No, we're schmurdering. We're schmurdering. Oh, oh. Uh-oh. Okay, that was probably why the... Yeah, the beach tubes. Okay. Okay, I'm not gonna slodge through that. Speaking of Call of Duty, you see they're making a movie. Oh, they're making a Call of Duty movie? What could it possibly be about? Who are we shooting anyhow? A gang that broke out of prison. Hello? Okay. What's this? Maybe prison wasn't so bad. Couple meals a day, work out in the yard, read some books. Hey, gotta live in the, wait, now I gotta live in the butt guy house and guard the entrance? What's the damn point? There's nothing fucking here. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint you, bud. All right, we've only got 9 guys left. Oh, son of a bitch. No. Woo! See, she was my biggest concern. Because for some fucking reason... All right, so yeah, here's my massacre. You like my handiwork, chance? All right, where's everybody else? We're also out of healing items. I was kind of hoping they'd be a decent chunk more abundant. Ish. Ish. Okay.
I knew it.
Hold on. I heard somebody else get startled. Who was it? Where are you? Okay. Oh, wait, no. Give me my fucking sledgehammer back, dude. If the light starts blinking, stop fucking touching it. We already lost like 3 dudes. If you want to corner the market on these things, we gotta stop blowing ourselves up. Oh. You know, I kind of want to interact with this, but I think it's a bad idea. I can throw it. Ooh. Ooh. Go me. Now watch my ass walk into that in a minute. Hello. Anyone else? Hello. I mean, we're still missing 4 people. Where are you? Hello? Okay, that's where we came. That's where we came out of the hole in the ground. Where is everyone? There's 4 whole people here, and I want my $500. Hello? Anybody fishing? No? God, that dock is ominous. Nothing. Oh, maybe they're up there. Oh. Hi, buddy. That's a bunch more tripwires. We're not going to go that way. Okay, so we need to figure out how to get up. Hold on. Hello? All right, I'm guessing we need to go up here. Free dock to fish off of? Hell yeah, dude. Okay, but how do we... Doesn't look like we can actually get up there. Oh. So again, there's 3 people left. No, I can't shoot the wire, I don't think. Can I? Oh, it's right there. Okay. Hello? Hello? Anyone? Anyone? Come on, there's only 3 of you guys left. Come out and die like a man. Now again, I don't want to get surprised blown away by someone. Oh, I'm stuck. The ledges need a little bit of work in this game. No? Nothing here? Huh. Where is everybody? Hello? Have we checked that house? I don't think we have. Hello.
Who's there? Oh, shit.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. Get pizza. Excuse me, pot. Hey, there's a pistol. You're new. You know what? Just to make sure that we... Huh. Because it seems like we unlock things when we bring them back without having to pay for them. All right, now we can go back. Think of it self-care. You do have a gun, though I need it for my games? Oh, no. Okay. All the self-care. That was working on self-care. I'm sorry, BB. I'm sorry, BB. No cry. No cry. All right, let's go. Murder, 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 murder. Let me in. Yes, excellent. Excellent. Give me the money. Give me the money. Damn. Good money.
Caesar? Yeah. No reservations about it.
Oh?
I'm not surprised. You know how many fights she got into in there?
In where? Prison?
Made any friends? Uh-huh. Affirmative. Also, about earlier. Yeah, I do want to raise. 10,000. I don't think it's unreasonable. Do you know how much You fucking asshole.
Okay.
You know, something that I like about you is that
Oh,
you don't
Jesus.
seem bothered
Go,
by the
go,
fact that I
go,
can kill you
go,
with any
go,
second.
go.
I don't think it's because you're too stupid to understand the gravity of the situation. I think it's because, to you, this is fun. When I was digging around
I mean,
in your
maybe.
brain,
Shut up.
I didn't see anything. No love, hatred, no regrets either. Just a pure and distilled joy for killing. A slave with no master.
The fuck are you talking about?
We've got a new job lined up for you. I hope you like malls.
I mean, pull-ups, but still. All the lists. Oh. You've reached the end of the EA early access content? Oh my god, we just finished it? What? All right, let's go see what's in. Let's see what's in the shop. No new armors. Any new specials? Cigarettes. To make you feel partly invincible. Grenade launcher. LMG P90. 5,000 for the bisexual gun sold. Laser sight. Bisexual gun it is. And then, so I'm guessing that means that there's also no more maps. Damn. Okay, if they're adding more maps in the future and stuff, I think this game's gonna be awesome. Listen, I was very tempted to pick up the grenade launcher, but I decided... Nice. And it finally actually left my outfit equipped. I just realized that. Well then. Well, we've done everything we can in Pigface. Honestly, this game's pretty neat. I'm very excited to see what it has in the future. And what other dumb stuff I can attach to things, and just how many maps I can scope with I almost said a sawed off. No, with a snub nose pistol. Because that is so stupid. That is so goofy. I love it. I love it. All right, let's go back to the just chatting screen. Oh my goodness. Let me go ahead and change the category back. All right, just yatting. There we go, fantastic. But, yeah, silent snub nose pistol. Oh, what is this? I'm getting angel memes. Excellent. Excellent angel memes. Hold on. Okay. Bring back the music so we don't keep having awkward silence or the voices come back. The voices always come back. They always find a way back. All right. P90 was a fun fact originally made to punch through it. Wait, what? It was? Cold War ended, so wait, the P90 was supposed to punch through tank armor? That doesn't sound right. Oh, you're right. I didn't turn it down after the commercial break. I just turned it off. Okay, gotcha. Body armor. Got you. Got you. I was gonna say, I was like, no way. That can't be right. All right. Well, what did we have on the schedule the rest of the week? Let me see. We finished that slightly early. So tomorrow we're doing Water Park Sim, then Resident Evil, then Banishers, and then we're back onto TTRPG weekends. Yeah, we're doing the water park. All right. For those of you tomorrow, I think we're just gonna call it here tonight, guys. It's only like 20 minutes till regular stop time. Tomorrow we're gonna be playing Water Park Sim. For those of you who do not know, are either brand new here or have not heard me mention it before, I used to manage a water park. I managed a water park for 2 years. I worked at a water park 2 years. I managed the second year. Let's be more specific. I'm not going to lie to y'all on this. Tells everyone to fuck off and sips wine on a boat on your schedule. Listen, if I could ever afford a vacation, that's probably what it would say. That's probably what it would say. But, okay. Made to be an SMG-sized weapon system with a rifle caliber round. Damn. We need yacht funds. Hey, there is the goofy, what is it called? Glucose Guardian thing on Throne that the anticipation is that it'll never be paid for $10,000 all in one payment. Which would also mean, I think at that point, I think Throne would have to give me a tax document, which would be very funny. But yes, we're going to do a stream tomorrow. I'll talk about my experiences whenever I ran a water park, what it was like, and probably yell at people drowning in the pools, because it's going to be... Ford fucks off to Puerto Rico for 3 months to hunt iguanas. Why are you hunting iguanas? Why are we hunting iguanas? Good question. But I think I know who we're gonna raid today. It's Monday. There's a Moth streaming, so we're gonna raid a Moth. Underscore. I almost always forget the underscore. We're raiding a Mookie. Today's the second day of the Mookie's birthday week. I didn't get to get into the schedule for any of the games except for what's maybe on VR chat drunk hangouts. But I don't think that's till Saturday. Friday or Saturday, I'm pretty sure. But guys, I will see you tomorrow, noon CDT. If you aren't in the Discord, I highly do recommend joining. !Discord. I do need to figure out, I think for this coming holiday season, Mainly in October. We're going to marathon all the Halloween movies. All of them. Every single one. Yes, including that one. Sorry, I saw the word now at the end of the Mookie's name and I was like, who's the Mookie now? For the MC invoices. Wait, invoices. Stop sending your funds will go to do great things with a picture of Marin's line of vehicles. Oh my God. All right, I will see you tomorrow. Good night, guys. Thank you for being here and thank you for being awesome. And thank you for enjoying the show and the new alerts.